Longhorn fans, Sooner Nation, welcome to episode 150 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. I'm here with my man Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, we did not give enough love to the University of Texas last week because of how bad the Oklahoma Sooners played. So we are going to start there. We are going to start with your Texas Longhorns. They go to Arkansas. Quick facts about the Arkansas-Texas series. Texas leads the all-time series 56-23. In 1969, they played the game of the century. Until then, mind you. Until then,
yep. Couple years before that.
Before the actual game of the century, but it was referred to as the game of the century, which ultimately led to Texas's 1969 national championship. President Nixon was in attendance and recognized Texas as the best team in college football. The last meeting at Fayetteville, we remember because it was Sark's first loss. Is that right? Am I thinking of that?
Yeah.
Arkansas won 40-21. Kevin, times have changed since the 40-21 beatdown, which I believe knocked your starting quarterback out and put Casey Thompson in.
Not by injury. He got yanked.
Was it Hudson? It wasn't Hudson Card, was it?
It was Hudson Card.
Hudson Card gets yanked at Fayetteville. I can see a scenario where Quinn gets yanked. Somewhere around the middle of the fourth quarter when you're up by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Here's the problem, right? You look at Arkansas, okay, Kevin? You look at Arkansas, and I said this a couple weeks ago, and I still think it's true to an extent, okay? They are a roller coaster, man. Like, you don't know what team. They're not good. Like, let's just establish that. They're not like they're a bottom half SEC team. Yet at the same time, let me just give you their SEC wins. Auburn 24-14. Tennessee in the college football playoff currently beat them 19-14. And Mississippi State, they beat them worse than you guys beat Mississippi State, 58-25. So in their wins, Auburn's not great. We know Mississippi State's not great, but a Tennessee win is huge. That's better than any win you've got on your schedule, like by far. Their losses, however, A&M, 4-point loss to A&M, not embarrassing. It's on a neutral field.
They always play A&M tough. A&M always beats them, but it's always a close game between those two.
I like that. I like that Jerry got that game to Dallas, though. I think that's cool that they have a. Yeah. I think it's cool. Anyway, they probably like it too because they get to recruit into Dallas, so that's probably good for both of them. LSU just waxed them, and we still don't know. I don't think LSU's any good after what Alabama did to them, which just embarrassed them. And then Ole Miss, of course, drops a 63 burger on them and beats them 63-31. That's our most recent version of Arkansas. So. I mean, as you look at Texas's schedule and you look at your SEC opponents to date, where does Arkansas fit in the hierarchy of the teams you've played?
It's hard to say with them because, like you said, they're all over the place. You just never know what you're going to get from them on a week-to-week basis. We do know this. Their offense, at its best, is very explosive. With Taylor Green, they have the ability to make huge explosive plays, both in the run game and in the passing game. They do have a mobile quarterback, which is always dangerous in college football. They've got talented backs, and they've got good receivers, and they've got a good scheme under Bobby Petrino. The thing is that Green is very inconsistent himself, right? Sometimes he looks like a Vince Young starter kit with that size, and then sometimes he just looks like he has no idea what he's doing out there. And then defensively, they're even more up and down, right? They're giving up a ton of points, a ton of yards, especially in the passing game. They're not really great against the run either. So you just never know what you're going to get from them. But what we do know, what we've seen from them so far, lets us know that at their best, they are a dangerous football team. And with them playing against Texas, we know that it's pretty much a Super Bowl for them. So I expect them to be at their best.
Okay, let's talk Taylor Green. When you think about SEC quarterbacks, I mean, is he in the same kind of space as, like, okay, this is just this is a quick Google ranking, okay? Give me the top. I said SEC quarterback rankings. Google came back with this. So I don't even know what this means in terms of like validity, but just to throw it out there. Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, Quinn, Garrett Nussmeier, Diego Pavia, Nico Iamaleava, Carson Beck, Taylor Green. Do you think that's about right?
Yeah, I think so.
You think that's about right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a legit argument for any of that.
6, 7, 8. That makes him 8th. That makes him 8th in the SEC. You didn't get to see Lagway play. So is he better than Carson?
He hasn't played a lot.
Is he better than Carson Beck?
I don't know. I mean, he has some crazy upside, but Carson Beck's been so weird this season. It's hard to give him because you can say he's got this elite talent and everything, but man, he makes some crazy mistakes. He's not seeing the field well, and he had 2 turnovers again. There were sack fumbles in a wet field against a really good pass rush from Ole Miss. But the 6 interceptions in the 2 games, 3 against Texas, 3 against Florida, both wins, but still. So I don't know, man. Carson Beck's it's hard to really get a rating on him.
I mean, this is a little off topic. You're not playing Georgia anymore. I mean, I guess you could play him in the SEC title game, but do you think Carson Beck? You don't think he's elite? Do you think his talent's elite? Okay, I mean, you said you might.
I said his talent. I like his talent. No, I like his talent, but I don't know what it is with him this year. It's just he's not seeing the field well at all.
Yeah. Okay. So back to Taylor Green. Petrino is really good historically with mobile quarterbacks. This guy's got 411 rushing yards on 105 carries. It's about 4 yards a carry. He does have 5 rushing.
You have sack yardage into that too, so.
Right, exactly. And but he does have 5 rushing touchdowns. Passing wise, 2,200 yards, 61% completion, 11 touchdowns, but it goes against 7 interceptions. Is Texas's defense going to capitalize on what could be an opportunistic matchup against Taylor?
Well, the defense has been really impressive with forcing turnovers this year. Now, we haven't always played the best complementary football in punishing teams with it when we get the ball back on offense.
I.e. Georgia.
Correct, especially Georgia. But we've been great all year defensively, and I think that'll continue. I think we will take advantage of. If he throws us a couple, I think we'll catch him. Hopefully, we can get some good returns out of it.
Okay, you never answered my question. Let's look at your schedule. Let's look at the Texas schedule. Let's look at the Texas schedule here. You guys have played Florida, Vanderbilt, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Mississippi State, right?
Yeah.
Is that the only 5 teams you played? So this will be number 6.
Yeah, 4-1 in conference so far. So yes.
Is Arkansas better than Mississippi State?
Yes.
Are they better than Oklahoma?
Yes.
I agree. Are they better? They're not better than Georgia. Are they better than Vanderbilt?
No.
And are they better than Florida?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the 3rd best team out of the 6. This is right in the middle of your schedule so far. And when you add Kentucky and A&M, they'll probably be the middling team in your schedule.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, if I extrapolate that out, the spread is 13.5. You should cover the spread, right? Based on previous, if that's the math we're going to use, and that's the who's better than calculation, I think y'all cover that 13.5 spread. I mean, we're going
Yeah,
to
I
pick
think
it
it's
officially.
yeah. I mean, I have a kind of a score in my head. First thing that came up was around 31-17, something like that.
Well, that's 14. Yes, but you got them covering. Um, I don't know. I just when they played, I mean, they played Tennessee, but Tennessee was struggling at that point, weren't they? This was
They
before
were,
the.
and Tennessee's offense, this whole season's been up and down, right? I think we have a more, versatile scheme than what Tennessee does. I like what Tennessee does, but there are certain ways to take that away. I think you guys showed that when you played Tennessee, and I think Arkansas had a similar game plan, putting three safeties on the field. It was hard for them to hit their deep shots, and if you can stop the running game, it makes things very difficult. I think Texas is a little bit more versatile. Texas has not ran the ball as effectively as we hope due to the running back injuries, but I think our passing game just has a lot more options to throw at Arkansas than Tennessee does, and that's why I'm
Jaquinda,
confident about this game.
Jaquinda Jackson, the
DeQuinden,
running back,
yes,
Jaquindon. I'm sorry, I can't read my own writing. Jaquindon Jackson, though, 5.7 yards a carry, 10 touchdowns. Any concern with stopping the run against them, or have y'all been
you know,
pretty good run
a little
stoppers?
bit. Well, we've been good overall, but Florida had some success, especially in the second half against us. The game was well out of hand, um, but Florida does have a really good running game. I mean, they ran it pretty decently against Georgia the week before too. They've got some talented backs and a good offensive line when it comes to run blocking. And yeah, a little bit of concern there. My hope is that it just kind of came once the game was out of reach, and maybe our guys had taken the foot off the gas. But it's something I will be looking for. I do trust our pass defense again, even against Taylor Green, and their receivers. But I'll be watching, and of course, Jaquinda Jackson. It's going to be an important game for him, guy who started his career off at Texas before transferring to Utah and then ultimately to Arkansas. So I'm sure he'll be
Oh,
fired up
where's
to
he?
play for the team.
Is he from Texas?
He is. He's from Duncanville. He was a quarterback there. He was a dual threat quarterback, and that's how he was recruited to Texas, as a dual threat quarterback under Tom Herman. And he tore his ACL in the playoffs, I think the state semifinals, his senior year. So he came to Texas already kind of injured, and ended up transferring to Utah, and then he ended up moving to running back there, and was there for I think 3 years, and then now he's at Arkansas, super senior deal.
Okay. I looked at the receivers. Andrew Armstrong, 55 receptions, 857 yards, 15.6 yards per carry. I would take those as an Oklahoma
I
fan
would say
like
that's
right
a lot
now.
of catches, man. I mean, that's more than anybody from Texas has.
The
Gunnar Helm's our leading
touchdowns,
receiver with 34.
but only one
Yeah, only
touchdown.
one touchdown, but that means he's just a consistent guy as far as just getting the ball. He's like a go-to guy. If it's third down, you have a good idea of who they're throwing to. 6'4" kid too, so got some good size.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I look at this game and I don't think it'll happen because it's Arkansas. I don't think you're going to overlook Arkansas. I could see a scenario where you overlook Kentucky in a week, getting ready for A&M.
Yeah.
And Kentucky catches you off guard. Kentucky's got a good defense. It'll be on the road,
No,
right?
that game will
No.
be in Austin.
Oh,
That'll be our final home game.
okay. Well, it'll be really hard to lose to Kentucky at home. So I take that back. Although I still think you could look past them and maybe have a sluggish game against Kentucky. How about that? I think
Yeah, no,
that
I
could
can see
happen.
that too. No, I can see that too. And
Um,
this will be the loudest atmosphere up to this point.
well, yeah, y'all haven't played anybody anywhere.
We have
You
not, but I
know?
mean, it doesn't matter where we played. I mean, Arkansas, when it comes to hosting Texas, it's a different type of environment. They're coming off a bye week as well. So those are just
Yeah,
things that have my attention.
it's going
And
to be
that
insane.
environment is real. And it's one of those things that, I mean, obviously 2021, we've come a long way since then. But in 2021, we were not prepared for that environment, how fired up they were to play Texas. I don't think our guys just knew the history of the Texas-Arkansas rivalry, because the last time we really played them, I mean, we went up there in 2004. We had Vince Young and the late great Cedric Benson on the field. So it's the last time we've been there. I was there then. So most of the guys on the team just didn't know what to truly expect and playing an SEC road game, even if it's just Arkansas. They probably thought going into it, because Arkansas hasn't been anything special in the SEC, but you know how those stadiums can be. Kind of like when you guys went to Auburn earlier.
It's pretty crazy to me that it continues to be such a big rivalry, because we're talking 33 years since they left the Southwest Conference.
90, 91, 92, when they
so
SEC.
31, 32, something like that. Over 30 years. You've played a handful of times, but it just doesn't seem enough to sustain a rivalry. But by all indications, Arkansas sure feels like it's a rivalry. Does Texas feel like it's a rivalry?
You know, a little bit. It's not. It's nothing compared to A&M, or definitely not to Oklahoma. But yes, but I mean, again, I've been around for, I'm 41, so
yeah, you're old.
If you're 20. No, you don't really understand, but I think the fans have kept that thing going, and they hate us, and it's a different type of hate than even Sooner fan has for us.
Oh yeah, it's an inferiority complex hate, is what it is. Right. It's worse than little brother. It's like little step cousin married to another cousin because they are an Arkansas joke type thing. So, all right, we're going to come back and pick this game. 13.5, over under is 57.5. Let's just slide over and let's just stay in the Texas lane for a minute before we get into OU. Let's talk college football playoff, something that Oklahoma didn't make the conversation on. I was surprised they didn't get mentioned. Seeds. Let's look at it from a standpoint of seeding first. If it were to end today, Oregon, number 1 seed. Texas, number 2 seed. BYU 3, Miami 4. Number 5, Ohio State playing Boise State. Number 9, Notre Dame playing Tennessee. Number 11, Ole Miss playing Penn State. Number 10, Alabama playing Indiana. Anything? Let's just start with anything stand out to you. Any major snubs? The last 2 out are Georgia and SMU.
I mean, it sounds weird just hearing Georgia not be in it. I'm not saying that they should be, but it just sounds weird not hearing Georgia being in the 12-team playoff. It just sounds weird. But if you look at it, I really don't have an issue with it. Texas being 2, as far as, based on the current projections, is what it is. I still think I'd rather be 5, because I'd love to host a game against someone like a Boise State and just to have some momentum. But
no, you don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want that, do you?
Being number 5.
You don't really want to be number 5, right? You want a first round bye, right?
I don't know. I kind of would want a home game.
Have
momentum.
No.
I don't know how that bye is going to work in college football. It's not like the NFL.
Listen,
I don't know.
Okay, first of all, no. The answer is no. I don't even know who I'm talking to right now. You do not want to play a game that you can lose. Any one of these 12 teams is not garbage. They're okay football teams. In fact, they're probably pretty good football teams. You do not want to risk losing a game at home. But given an underdog, let's say, look at Ohio State. They're going to play Boise State, okay, in this scenario. Boise State is going to have 2 or 3 weeks to game plan. Ohio State will too, but they're going to have 2 or 3 weeks to game plan. They can come up with some really weird stuff. They can muddy the game up. They can keep it close. They can pound them with Genty. They can build off of Genty. I'm just using Boise State as the example. Dude, I don't think I'd want to mess with that. I want the bye. I want somebody who's got beat up. I want the extra week of preparation. I think it is huge to get the first round bye.
How much of because it's already a 3-week break, right, between the conference championship games and the first round of these games?
Is it 3? Yeah, I guess it's 3. I think it's more like 2.5.
The first 2.5 weeks. Yeah, because the first weekend of December typically is when the conference title games are. It's like December 1st or something. And then I think it'll be December 20th for the first college football game. So I don't know, man. It just sounds something just about being able to host a postseason game in your own stadium just sounds so awesome to me.
Okay, it sounds awesome if you're trying to get in. But if you're in, dude, I'm just saying, that's just me. Okay, there's a lot of talk online, on the Twitters, sports talk about the SEC bias. I guess I'm really having a hard time, like, even if I was not an SEC fan, or an SEC school now, seeing the outrage. There's 4 SEC teams. There's 4 Big Ten teams. What is this bias? Because people are trying to talk Georgia into getting in?
I don't see that either.
I mean, what are we doing?
Make another argument. I mean, SMU, maybe, if that's where you want to go with this, with them being the top team in the ACC. But I mean,
the ACC is not great. They're not great.
It isn't. No,
they're
not at all.
Georgia waxed them, okay, and in their loss to Ole Miss, they only scored 10 points. Maybe the weather had something to do with it. And then, yeah, they came back against Alabama, but Alabama rolled them in the first half.
Yeah, they were all over them, man.
I just can't imagine. I don't know. Here's what I think is the deal with the SEC. Now that we're in the conference, is there was always the discussion that it was so top heavy. I still think that might be true in the sense that we have really good teams in the conference, but we just talked about an Arkansas team that's going to have 70,000 people going nuts, an Auburn team that has 80,000 people going nuts. South Carolina is crazy.
Environment there. Yeah.
Incredible environment. Nobody wants to play Vanderbilt right now. I mean, those are your lower rung teams. Outside of Mississippi State and Oklahoma, everybody else is actually pretty good. I don't think I want to play them. You go into the Big Ten, dude, Purdue sucks.
Yeah,
Rutgers,
Northwestern.
Rutgers sucks.
Yeah, you're not worried about playing Northwestern or Minnesota.
Maryland. I guess USC's worried about Maryland, but
USC sucks. That's why.
Even UCLA right now, like they wouldn't scare. I think Oklahoma would beat all of those teams.
Yeah.
Now, I look at what Indiana's doing, and their schedule's terrible. They do get a chance to prove themselves against Ohio State, right? I mean,
yeah,
they can,
which is good for them. Yeah, let's see what you got.
They can sit whatever. Yeah, they at 11 a.m., which we're going to talk about. But they can set whatever tone they want, so they're going to get their chance. But in addition to that, they have, to their credit, blown out every team they played. Okay, yeah. Maybe not. Michigan was a little closer. I don't know. If you watch that Michigan game, you were never worried about Michigan winning. I don't know what the game control figures are and statistics are, but they've had game control pretty much every game they've played. And an 11-1 Indiana team is not going to upset me if they get in, but they haven't had to play the schedule that Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, Florida, some of those teams have had to play. Look at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's had to play Alabama and Texas, South Carolina, all in the same year. I mean,
And South Carolina is a good football team. You just got to watch them play. They are a good football team. You don't want to play them.
Well, you sure, I almost cussed. You sure don't want to block their ends with the tight end. I'll tell you that much. I mean,
no, you don't. Multiple times, by the way. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the matchups. And then let's just talk about the rankings, because I find the rankings to be really interesting, because they kind of guaranteed these conferences to get to the first round buys. Now that we see it, do you like that? Do you like BYU, who's actually ranked 6th, getting a first round bye? Miami, who's actually ranked 9th, getting a first round bye? Doesn't that feel icky now that
it does. Yeah, it really does. I don't like it at all. I mean, BYU, clearly they're a good football team, but to be treated as a 3rd best team in college football, I mean, even Texas, like, I don't know if Texas is the 2nd best team in college football. It's just it's odd.
I mean, I guess my point is, and I think you're agreeing with me here, is BYU should absolutely get an automatic bid. That's not what we're talking about. And maybe by default they should get to host. almost like winning a divisional, winning a division. When you win the division, you host, but just to give them a bye because they won in the Big 12. Listen,
Correct.
Big 12 is not good. Look at every Big 12 team we all picked. Utah, bad. Oklahoma State, bad. K-State, struggling. Kansas, terrible. I mean, we're talking about it's BYU or Colorado. Now, Colorado's a nice story, and I know you love Colorado, and maybe they are really talented, but they still have 2 losses. Like, they're not some behemoth. So it's just seeing it now live. I look at it, and would I think differently if it was K-State or even an undefeated Utah? Well, maybe, but it's not. It's BYU and Miami, and it's
BYU, yeah, and especially Miami coming off a loss and everything. So, yeah,
but what would people think though if they went by their actual rankings though, and it was Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State?
Yeah, I think people would still be kind of weird, especially about the likes of Penn State. They have a good loss losing to Ohio State, and Ohio State has a great loss losing to Oregon in a very, very close game.
Yeah.
Too, but I guess it just shows us that, man, no matter what we do to try to get the best system, it's always going to be something to be upset about, no matter what.
Yeah, when you look at it, I think the only teams that could jump in, I think Colorado can jump in, even though they're down at 17. Because if they win out, they're in.
Yeah, you win out, you win the Big 12 championship game, you're in.
They're in. So that's Colorado. I think SMU is the same thing, same story, and they might not even have to win out, as long as they get to play Miami in the championship and beat Miami, right?
Correct.
So SMU is one to keep an eye on. Colorado's one to keep an eye on. I don't think Washington State, are they? I don't think they have a chance
I don't
anyway.
know how
are they technically independent?
Yes, I would say so. I don't think they're in a conference. There's no Pac-12 anymore. So I imagine they're considered an independent. So I don't know what their path for getting in it is.
Okay. I got one more thought before we talk about Oklahoma. Or this is like my transition or my segue for Oklahoma.
Real quick, before you jump on that, keep an eye on Georgia because they play Tennessee this week.
We're going to talk about that game. Okay, let's say Georgia figures out a way to get to the SEC championship game. Okay? Maybe against Texas, because I still think Texas is in the driver's seat, especially if Georgia beats Tennessee. So it'd be Texas, Georgia. If they lose and they have 3 losses, do you think Georgia has a case to get in?
No.
Are they going to let Georgia in with 3 losses?
No way. I don't see it. I don't see it.
I mean, because you
never know, but because there's so much football left to be played, but I don't think so, man.
Is Tennessee's only loss to Arkansas right now?
Correct.
Okay. So Tennessee only has 1 loss. Notre Dame's loss is terrible. Notre Dame plays Army next week, I think.
Yeah, so Notre Dame definitely has the worst loss out of any team. If you look at these teams, right, that are in the current bracket, not the ranking, but just the bracket. Miami, their loss, Georgia Tech, it's not the best loss, but it's not horrible. Texas losing to Georgia, it's still going to be looked at as a good loss, even with Georgia having 2 losses of their own, because it's Georgia, right?
It's fine. Yeah.
Alabama has 2 losses, but
Boise State's Oregon. That's their only loss.
Correct. Ohio State is to Oregon. Tennessee is to Arkansas. That's a questionable one for sure. Ole Miss has their 2 losses. And who did they lose to? They lost to
Kentucky. That's a bad loss.
That's a bad loss. That is a bad loss. And it was at home.
It's not as bad as Northern Illinois, but it's a bad loss. Yes.
It's a bad loss, especially because they lost at home. You can't lose at home to Kentucky. Oh, and they lost that game to LSU that I'm not sure how they lost that game. I thought they were so much better than LSU on that game. So, like you see, anyway, the Notre Dame loss is bad. They have the worst loss by far out of any team that's in the current bracket.
The point I was going to make is that in the current college football playoff rankings, Oklahoma has more top 25 wins than Texas. That's that. Look, you cannot control your schedule.
Yeah.
I understand that. And I understand the double standard and the double speak that SEC people have been using for years, that the SEC is a gauntlet. Then Texas gets this schedule and now is being told it's very easy. Like, I get the contradiction and I understand it. And I understand Texas's position and where they're at. And the fact is they just have to win games and it'll take care of itself and all of that. But my God, dude, you haven't beaten a ranked team. And it's week 12. That's
it's
a
pretty
little
crazy. It's crazy, right?
You'd have beaten a ranked team if you were in the Big 12.
Yeah, it's crazy how it's worked out, right? I mean, who would have thought that? No one thought OU was going to be down like you guys are. No one would have thought Michigan would have fallen off a cliff like they have. I mean, no one would just to think that Vanderbilt is our best win of the season. Vanderbilt's a good football team, but it's Vanderbilt, right? Just never would have thought that. So, yeah, it's been a bizarre year. We knew things like this were going to happen. I think we do pass the eyeball test as far as how we look, but yeah, it's just really worked out weird. But like I've said all year, we have to take advantage of it. This is how it's going to be.
Well,
take full advantage of it.
And for college football fans, if for an Oklahoma fan, if you were going to suck and Texas was going to be good and get an easy schedule, this is the year you'd want that to happen, because at least Texas has to go through a 12-team playoff, right? Yeah. You don't get to get in and beat one team and then win, you know what I'm saying? Or, God forbid,
win a natty.
Yeah. Here's at the end of the day, regardless of where the rankings fall and who gets what seed and whatever, you win this bracket, you're the national champion. I mean, there's just no way around. I mean, this is going to be a gauntlet.
You've earned it.
If this is how it ends, these games are fantastic. Like Notre Dame, Tennessee, are you kidding me? Ole Miss, Penn State, talk about a clash of styles. Bama, Indiana, and same thing with Bama and Indiana. I think Bama wins that game, but I don't know that for sure. I mean, I think it'd be pretty fun. All right, Oklahoma. That's a lot of Texas talk. You're welcome, Texas. You're welcome. Play somebody and you'll get some more.
Hey man, don't hate. You guys wouldn't be good with our schedule either.
Probably not. Okay, speaking of not being very good. I was not happy with Brent Venables on Saturday night, Sunday, when we taped on Sunday night. I think the consensus at this point, and especially it's similar to what we've seen from Joseph Harris, the president, and from Joe Castiglione, is a vote of confidence in the coach, right? They have confidence in their coach, and they're going to give him every resource he needs to be successful. And I think most fans are okay with that. They're upset. If they're like me, they're upset. They're not happy, but they're okay with giving Brent Venables another chance. I will contend, however, Kevin, that this is on week 12. On week 13 and 14, if we get our ass kicked by Alabama at home in prime time, I'm not sure I'm going to be as understanding as to giving him another year. Is that unfair to put it all on one game?
Not exactly, because you're not. You're combining the whole season, right? You got to see how the season finishes. What if the team quits? I don't think they will, but what if the team...
I don't think they'll quit.
Yeah, and neither do I, for the record. But just what if they do? What if they come out, they're not playing hard, and you just get blown out and don't even look competent at all?
Here's the
likes of Alabama and LSU.
You talk about getting blown out. I mean, listen, the fear of getting blown out is real. It is. I mean, we saw what Alabama did to LSU, and that fear is real and it's there. However, you look at the other good teams we've played outside of Texas, where we never scored and never even thought about scoring, but against Tennessee and Ole Miss, both current college football playoff schools, both ranked ahead of Alabama, We weren't blown out in those games.
Not at all.
In fact, we led the game at halftime against Ole Miss and outgained them through 2 quarters. And it wasn't fluky. We were the better, quote unquote, team. Whatever. We had the better
performance.
We had the better half. Right, exactly.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to say it, but we had the better half against them. And then if you saw what I saw against Tennessee, we were in that game until 3 turnovers and, we're just idiots. So, but if we come out and do what we did against South Carolina or even Missouri with the turnovers and the stupid plays and the stupid decisions and it snowballs, Kevin, I don't know if we can afford to see another year of that.
Correct. You can't have that. And yeah, that's the thing. You gotta get out of your own way. And those making those kind of boneheaded plays, usually those are a sign of a badly coached team. When you make those kind of self-inflicted things over and over and over and over. So I don't know how long you guys are going to be able to take that. You have to have some sort of hope going forward. And what's the hope now? Where is it coming from?
So a good section of OU fan still contends that the injuries are the number one factor.
They're a huge factor, I'm sure. I mean, you can't ignore it.
It's hard to judge Oklahoma and our performance this season just simply because so many guys were hurt. I don't agree with that. I got to just tell you, Kevin, I just don't agree with it. Now, I'm not saying we win every game, okay? But it's the manner in which we have lost games, right? Like 2 weeks to prepare for Texas, and you don't even show up. 3 turnovers in the first half against Tennessee, 3 turnovers in the first 2 minutes against South Carolina, a complete and total meltdown against Missouri with a backup quarterback. I'll tell you what, the meltdown with Missouri had nothing to do with injuries.
Not at all.
Nothing,
no.
Kevin. 0. Okay? And so when you see that, it's really hard for me to go, oh, well, I mean, my God, he's got injuries. Well, I don't know. Missouri's the one with the backup quarterback. We had our game 1 starter. What are we talking about? Our game 1 starter was worse than their backup. And our defense allowed them to score with 2 minutes to go in the game.
So quickly, too.
Oh, so quickly. And so I just don't look. If we have Steph Luttrell as our offensive coordinator, and we had Nick Anderson and Jaden Gibson and Andrell Anthony, I'm not sure our offense looks that much better.
Yeah, I'm just curious how the downfield passing game would have looked because you still really haven't tried it all year.
This is what I'm saying, Kevin. I mean, I guess look, dude. We could have CD Lamb, but if we can't throw the ball to him, then I don't know what difference it makes. Because we can't throw the ball. We had Farouk. And I don't even know what's going on with Farouk. He might be hurt again. It's
really?
weirdness. Yeah. He's already talking about sitting out and coming back next year. Okay. And then Burks, of course, just gets annihilated on that last play.
Man, it was such an unfortunate hit, man. I felt horrible for him. Real quick, though, the biggest question I have is what's the deal with Nick Anderson?
I heard he was misdiagnosed at the beginning, and that the team doctors never thought it was as serious, and then come to find out after the Tennessee game, he should have probably had a minor surgery.
Okay.
I heard they missed
him coming back.
Huh?
Do you anticipate him coming back?
Not if that's really the case. Why would you come? Would you come back to an organization that treated you like that?
No.
Here's the problem with Nick Anderson. Same thing with his brother. He's injury prone.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't excuse if what I heard was correct and our medical staff somehow messed it up. That doesn't excuse that. But at the same time, he's injury prone. He gets hurt a lot. Even before this year, he was hurt a lot. Rodney Anderson was hurt a lot. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. I don't think I think it was a systemic issue with our offense, not an injury issue. I saw us against Temple when Farouk was healthy, Andrew Anthony was a little healthy, Burks was healthy, your starting quarterback was playing, Javonte Barnes was your running back, all of the things. And we looked terrible offensively against Temple.
Yeah.
So I just am not ready to say, oh, well, my God, we had our 3 receivers, we'd be just fine. I don't think we would, Kevin. And that's, I think, the more concerning issue than the injuries.
Yeah, just offensively, it just never looked right. Even from that first game against Temple. I mean, Arnold 17-25 for 141, 4 touchdowns. And, I mean, Temple's proven to be one of the worst teams in the country this year. It just never did look right offensively for you guys.
Okay. And so now they're talking about offensive coordinator. I don't have the names, but I have the places where they're at. Washington State guy.
Okay.
Runs a version of the air raid. Somehow is through the air raid line of coaches. That doesn't get me that excited. I got to tell you, I feel like we've seen it, been there, done that. And that's not the style. I mean, I guess I want the style that scores the most points and gives you the best chance to win. I just don't know if air raid. I can't think of a national championship.
Depends. If it's Lincoln Riley's air raid, I'll take that all day.
Kevin, who's a national championship team that's won with the air raid?
That I'm not sure of. I'd have to look and see. But I don't know.
Think about it.
Yeah.
And there's been spread. I mean, Alabama's spread out. Alabama went up tempo. Clemson spread out. Clemson went up tempo. Georgia never really did.
No, they
didn't do it with air raid, right? They did it with more pro style, you know. And I think from a standpoint of recruiting, I mean, would you consider Sarkisian's offensive style as pro style?
Yes, 100%.
I just like the way that looks.
Yeah,
you know. And I think it helps you recruit to it better. The air raid when Lincoln Riley when the air raid was, his version of air raid was really running, which we talk about all the time. It was running principles, and it was with a running game.
Yeah.
And we had a nasty offensive line, and we had great running backs and good blocking tight ends for that matter. So,
and dynamic receivers too.
If that's the kind of air raid you're going to give me, where I have 2,000-yard running backs that'll still be in the league 10 years later, then okay, I guess. But that's not what I anticipate getting from the offensive coordinator at Washington State.
Yeah. I mean, well, you got it from the offensive coordinator of East Carolina. So I'm just saying, I don't know enough about Washington State to make a fair assessment here. You just never know, man. There's always hidden superstars out there in the coaching world. So I'm not saying this guy's going to come in and just revitalize your program like Lincoln Riley did in 2015. But the chance is always there.
Would you want an air raid coach at Texas?
If they ran it similar to how Lincoln Riley does, yes. If Sark wasn't there. I mean, not over what Sark is doing, but, you know.
I mean, Lincoln Riley hasn't scored over 30 points except for one game this year.
Yeah, his personnel sucks. Which is 100% his fault. It's 100%. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm not giving him a pass for it.
You're just saying his roster sucks. He hasn't recruited. He hasn't transferred.
That's right. And again, we talked about all the issues with him at USC, and the biggest one for me is the lack of recruiting. I can't believe that he hasn't been able to go and elevate their recruiting to where it should be. Their program is no better under Lincoln Riley than it was under Clay Helton. And I cannot believe it.
Do you think they don't compete in the NIL game? Or do you think he just is a bad judge? Or do you think he's just a bad talent evaluator? Because I would almost make the argument he's a bad talent evaluator. You look at a couple of the top 10 classes he had at Oklahoma, Most of those guys didn't pan out.
That is true.
Unless you're Theo Weiss and you're catching balls from Missouri. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Most of those guys didn't pan out.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the 3 5-star receivers from that class, right? Theo Weiss and Bridges and Hazelwood.
Yeah.
And none
Didn't
of them worked out in
Hazelwood Didn't Hazelwood go to Arkansas?
He did go to Arkansas. I don't remember him really doing much there either. So maybe he was just a miss from the whole industry.
My point being is,
yeah, he might miss on some guys.
I think he missed it on more than you'd think. Anyway, all right. That's Oklahoma. I don't know what to think, dude. Listen, I would love for nothing more than for Brent Venables to get a win against Alabama. I don't know if it'll happen, but get a win against Alabama. Give us some momentum. Get us a bowl game.
Real quick, though. The LSU game is interesting, right? Because we've kind of talked about this. They have no clue on how to stop mobile quarterbacks. So you might consider putting Michael Hawkins in the game and letting him just run wild. Because we saw Marcel Reed light them up running the football for Texas A&M. And then we saw what Jalen Milroe was able to do this past Saturday. So I'm just saying, man, that quarterback run defense for LSU has just been shockingly bad all year.
I don't think we have the offensive staff that can put that together in time. I'm not being a jerk.
I know, that should be the easiest thing to do, right?
There's a lot of things.
You would think. I know. Listen, man.
How about just give the ball to Xavier Robinson? Let's just start there. But we didn't do that for 12 or 8 games or however many, 10 games. So
10 games. How about even in this game?
Yeah, 9.
9 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't give the ball to the fourth quarter.
This is what I'm saying, and so why would I think that they would make adjustments as simple as let's put some quarterback run game in?
It's
and the quarterback run game they did put in. Now it wasn't Seth Luttrell, but the quarterback run game they did put in against Auburn was terrible, and Texas was terrible. They tried putting in quarterback running game. It was awful, Kevin. Awful.
Yeah, it just hasn't looked in sync. Hold on, real quick. The thing about it, though, when it comes to...
Don't make me talk about it again, please. Don't you see I want to change the subject? Don't you see I can't stand talk about Oklahoma football anymore?
I gotta pile on a little bit. Come on, man. Let me have this. Texas football was in the abyss for almost 15 years, man. So
I know. Why didn't we start the podcast then? That would have been amazing.
Well, the thing about this, when it comes to the coaching decision, is if you say we're gonna move on and find a new coach, but who's to say the next hire is gonna be the right one? You can make another bad hire, like Texas did.
Look, okay. Well, guess what? That is operating from a place of fear. Okay, this is the University of Oklahoma. You have the opportunity to go get almost any coach you want outside of about 8. There's about 8 coaches that that do not want to leave their current job to come to Oklahoma. I'm just saying, 8. And they're all in the college football playoff right now. Starting from the number 12 down, or maybe not 12, 13 down, including Boise State, SMU, Kansas State, Colorado. You called Prime up? Are you kidding me? South Carolina, Missouri, Army, Tulane. They'd all come to Oklahoma. All of them would. I don't want it.
Would you take Shane Beamer right now if you said if
no?
It was a home run.
No,
you would not take Shane Beamer over BV.
What's his record at? Shane Beamer's. No, I don't think so. I mean, what is his record at South Carolina? I'm trying to pull it up here.
That is I will say they are a tough physical football team, and I don't know. And he can recruit too.
He's 26-21.
It's South Carolina, man.
I agree. He's 26-21. He can recruit, and his teams have an identity. BV's team has an identity too right now, which is really good defense, terrible offense. I tend to think his is more. My point is, though, you cannot operate from a place of fear. This is what's going on in Oklahoma State right now. Oklahoma State doesn't want to fire Gundy because their biggest fear is whoever we hire is going to be worse than Gundy.
Yeah.
And that might be true at Oklahoma State, Kevin. It's not true at Oklahoma. You can go get a good coach. Same thing with your stupid Dallas Cowboys. Like, keeping Mike McCarthy is just too much. But that's a whole different story. That's Jerry Jones.
Yeah, and Jerry, he doesn't want a star that's bigger than him.
No.
That's why, after the Parcells thing, he's like, no more stars. And, like, you don't have to stick with the likes of Garrett and Dave Campo, Mike McCarthy. Go get Sean McVay or somebody.
Dave Campo was terrible, wasn't he? Yeah. Golly. Those were some rough years.
Really,
but anyway, my point is Oklahoma can't afford to operate from a position of fear. They got to operate from a position of strength. They're in the SEC. They got SEC money. They got Jumpman money. They're doing fine. They're doing really, really good. And they can make things happen. And the personnel's here and all of that. And look around and see what a coaching change can do to an organization, i.e., look at Texas A&M. They are a better team than they were under Jimbo Fisher.
Correct.
Look at.
Do you have a guy? Who's the top of your wish list? Dan Lanning? Will Dan Lanning leave Oregon to come to Oklahoma?
I don't think
so either.
I don't think he does. I think you got to look at the Indiana guy, which I know he's the hot name right now, but I still think he's pretty good. He's exciting.
Which is so crazy for a 63-year-old to be looked at like that. And everything you said is accurate.
Yeah, and maybe he's just the flavor of the month. I don't know. I think he's actually pretty good.
No, I think he's great too.
I don't know. You look around at a conference. There's nobody else in the ACC. Cristobal's not leaving Miami, and I don't even know if you want Cristobal.
Yeah, I think you can get a better. I think you can do a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. My point is, that's not what I'm going. I'm not going to go with who. What if the next person? That's a bad point.
No, I'm just saying that might be where, these decisions are so big, and you just don't want to make the wrong one, and legacies are on the line. I think that's how a lot of these ADs think.
All right, let me talk to you about making wrong decisions, okay, and making indecisions. Let's say your house gets hit by a tornado. There is 1,000 decisions you have to make, and all of those can impact the success of the insurance claim that you've had to file. If you're having a problem with any of those decisions, or you want some guidance, you need a trusted advisor. You need a public adjuster from Brown O'Haver. We are a public insurance adjusting firm that works for the insured, the homeowner, not the insurance company. Brown O'Haver gets clients paid more money than they do on their own. But more importantly, in the time of tornadoes, it's the peace of mind to know you have a trusted advisor that has been through this before. If you've been hit by a tornado, or you know somebody that has, pay attention to this number, 405-735-5510. If you've already got money from your insurance company, no problem. We don't take a fee on anything that you've already been paid. It's only on money that we're able to increase for you. Call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. Kevin, roofing needs in the great state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, give your friends at Pioneer Roofing a call. Show up, give you a free inspection, let you know if your roof needs replacement or if it doesn't. Give us a call, 405-549-2712.
Kevin, it's week 12, which is just, again, crazy, but we have a pretty good slate of games. I've got some written down that I think we're going to pick, but maybe we'll change it. Let's start, though, at not so much a rooster kickoff, but a butt crack of dawn kickoff. Utah at Colorado has the big noon game on Fox. Colorado is an 11.5-point favorite. However, that is a 10 a.m. kickoff local time. Why does Fox insist on ruining the college football experience for the fan?
Yeah, listen. I know they don't want to compete. I'm assuming they got tired of competing with the night game, primetime game with ESPN. So they said, we're going to take control of this. We're going to put our tier 1 game at 11 a.m., no matter who's playing, no matter where they're playing. So even a team playing on the West Coast has to play at 11 a.m. Central Time, but 9 o'clock West Coast time, we've seen a few games have to start at that time. I don't like it. They have the Penn State Ohio State game. It was at Penn State. They have the whiteouts, and we know how amazing that atmosphere gets, especially when it's a night game. But we have to have it at 11 because of Fox owning the rights to the Big Ten, and the Tier 1 games. So yeah, it's disappointing.
Look, for East Coast games, I know you talk about Penn State and Ohio State. That's fine. I would prefer a night game, absolutely, 100%. But okay, if you're gonna have some East Coast games, that I get it. But to make West Coast teams play at 10 a.m. because at least Penn State and Ohio State was noon. That's 2 hours. That's 2 hours for merchants. That's 2 hours for fans. That's 2 hours to drive to the stadium. Like there's 10 a.m. But I went to the 10 a.m. game last year for Oklahoma at Provo for BYU. It was early, man. Like it just, you didn't get a chance to do anything. It was show up and go to the game.
Yeah,
and that's not what you're looking at. It felt like a JV high school kickoff. Remember how JV high school used to be on Saturday morning after the varsity had played on Friday night? Like that's what it feels like. And I don't know, man. I just don't like it. And I guess if you're Fox, I get it. Okay, especially now that ESPN has the SEC. You don't want to have a primetime game and have to go up against, I don't know who the primetime game is. Is it, it's probably Tennessee, Georgia. You don't want to have to go up against Tennessee, Georgia. I get that.
Right.
But what, is there something that prohibits them from like having a 4 o'clock kickoff?
No, I don't think so.
Because think about that, right? You can have a 4 o'clock kickoff. So now maybe you're competing a little bit with that 2:30 window, the late window there. But man, it becomes a good game. You're eating all into their window, dude. You're eating all into that window, especially that 6:30, 7 o'clock time frame. Like to me, that seems like that would just be a real opportunity, especially to put a game like Utah, Colorado in. I just don't understand what
people will watch that. So
I don't know. I think it's
like you said, operating in a place of fear.
Joel Klatt's trying to gaslight everybody and get us to believe that 11 a.m. that big noon kickoffs are a positive for college football. He's like, well, I mean, everybody watches it. Yeah, we watch it out of protest. We don't watch it because we want to watch it at 11 a.m.
Correct. Yeah, primetime games are always the best. I get the rivalry shootout because it's always at 11 most years.
2:30 this year.
2:30 this year, but most years it's at 11 o'clock. I've been used to that, so that's not a surprise. But, you know, the Texas-Alabama game in Austin.
Terrible.
I mean,
terrible. Oklahoma, Nebraska. When they gave us that 11 a.m. kick for both of those Oklahoma, Nebraska games, it was just it sucked. It sucked. And I don't know. All right, we spent enough time hating on that. Clemson at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's plus 10. The aforementioned Tulane takes on Navy, which could be a good game there. Navy's getting 7. Louisiana Monroe at Auburn. Auburn's 24 points. LSU at Florida. This used to always be in the early kind of like anytime after about 05 to maybe 2011 or 12.
Yeah.
This was almost the game of the year. And oftentimes, if you remember, it was on the same weekend as OU Texas. You remember that? It used to be on that a lot. Florida, only a 4.5 point dog. Are they getting Lagway back?
Yeah, I've heard he's been practicing, and they're hoping that he's back. But yeah, he's been out there, and
okay.
And LSU's kind of down a little bit after that loss at Alabama, so it should be a fun one.
Put a star by that one. We might pick that one. Virginia at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's 22.5 point favorite. Penn State at Purdue. Purdue could be the worst team
in the Power Four.
Boston College at SMU. SMU's a 19 point favorite. Louisville at Stanford. 20.5 point dog at home for Stanford. Nebraska at USC. USC is an 8.5 point favorite at home. They're starting a new quarterback out of the bye week, Jaden Mayava. Is that, am I saying that right?
Jaden
Mayaba. And you know anything about this kid? Is he a Hawaiian kid?
Yeah, he's a transfer. He was at UNLV last year. Did a really good job. Came to USC. Now, I'm not sure if he thought he was going to be in the mix for the starting job at USC, but obviously he's been the backup to Miller Moss. And yeah, it's getting the nod this week. I don't think Miller Moss is injured either. I think,
No, I don't think so.
For a spark offensively.
Miller Moss, 5-star?
I don't think so. No, Miller Moss was not a 5-star. No.
Okay. Oh, it's interesting. We'll see. Nebraska's good enough. I mean, Nebraska's as good as all the other teams that have beat USC. But USC could be due one, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. That's ranked. It's a ranked matchup. Missouri at South Carolina. South Carolina, 12.5-point favorite. I got to tell you, I got this game to pick. I think Missouri could cover, but that's a very tricky line. I think the game falls right around that 12.5.
Yeah, I'm very surprised to see the spread this high, just because South Carolina, they're a really good football team, but not the most explosive offensively.
But you saw Missouri though.
Yeah, they're not very
Missouri's
good.
not good, man.
They're not very good. I just know they're not horrible defensively though, Missouri. So I was just like, are they going to put up enough points? But Drew Pines sucks.
He sucks. Kevin, he sucks. Let's come back. I think we picked that because it's a
I like that. Let's pick that.
Ranked game in the SEC. Boise State at San Jose State, 13.5 points. San Jose State's the dog. ASU at KSU. K-State is an 8-point favorite. Oregon at Wisconsin, 14-point dogs for Wisconsin. And then the big one in the SEC, Tennessee at Georgia. Georgia's a 10.5-point favorite. Did I read that right?
No, I think you're looking at that right. That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Holy cow. Hold on. I just write these down as I go, and I really wasn't even thinking about it. Let me just double check that. That sounds crazy, town.
That is a pretty bizarre
that is correct.
Point spread. What do they know?
That's exactly right. What do they know? Tennessee has beaten Alabama. Alabama beat Georgia. Georgia's coming off a 10-point performance against Ole Miss. I think Tennessee's defense might be better than Ole Miss's defense. I am confused about this line. Is this a sucker line, Kevin?
I don't know, man. It's crazy. DraftKings has it as -10 for Georgia.
Yeah. My DraftKings had as 10.5. Was that earlier today?
Okay.
Well, no. Let me refresh.
Yeah, this is right now what I'm seeing.
Let me refresh. Maybe it is 10. That was earlier today, like around 4. So maybe the line's moved. Let me see. I mean, I'm sure you're right. I'm not questioning that. Let's just look. Yeah, 10. Okay, we'll go 10. That's fine. Let's correct that. So the line's moved a little bit towards Tennessee.
Yeah, I think ESPN though has theirs at that same 10.5.
Wow, that's nuts. Okay, let's come back to, we're picking that one for sure. New Mexico State at A&M, -39. KU at BYU. Might pick this one. BYU looking to go and stay undefeated, stay ranked in the college football playoff. They're a 2.5-point favorite hosting Kansas. And then Mercer at Alabama, no line. Okay. Tennessee, here's the games I had, because we actually picked 4 this week. We picked 4 because OU's on a bye. I had Tennessee, Georgia. I had Utah, Colorado, Missouri, South Carolina, KU, BYU. I did not have LSU, Florida. Do you want to pick LSU, Florida, and bump one of those I mentioned?
Yeah, let's bump the Kansas, BYU.
Okay, let's do it. LSU, Florida. All right, let's start with what I think is a really easy line. You think I can tell you which way I'm going? Really easy is Tennessee. Do you think I'm an idiot for thinking Tennessee can?
No,
cover
I'm trying
10?
to think of a reason why they can't either. I mean, the only thing on my mind here is, how Georgia can be, right? We see flat.
Well, I thought they were going
to.
That's what I said last week, though, against Ole Miss. Yeah. Is Georgia's usually just is Georgia when they need to be. And they needed
They're
to
at
be last
home.
week, and they didn't have that gear.
Yeah, they're home this week. We got Tennessee coming in. The offense for Tennessee has been up and down. Maybe they think they can have a similar performance like they had against Texas, getting after Nico and shutting that defense down, playing 3 safeties and saying, you can't throw deep on us, and we're going to stop Dylan Sampson in your running game. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
So
I'm still picking Tennessee, though. No, I'm taking Tennessee.
To cover. You're not saying they wouldn't.
To cover. Yeah, to cover.
Yeah, I think so, too. Man, I don't know. I mean, that would be a shocker, right? If Georgia beats Tennessee, that puts them back into the college football playoff and gives them the inside track to getting to the SEC championship game, right? Even over Alabama?
No, I don't think so, because they have 2 conference losses, and so does Alabama. Alabama would have the tiebreaker.
Okay. That would bump Bama up, Georgia up, and Tennessee would fall behind probably.
Yeah.
Because the Arkansas loss is probably the worst of those 3.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I'm good with that. Utah, Colorado. This is your boy. This is Coach Prime. Can you get him woke up at 10 a.m.? Can Travis Hunter? It's starting to be that time of year where if you're going to be a Heisman Trophy contender, you got to start having some Heisman moments. Utah is not a great team, but Colorado needs to keep winning. Do they get it done on Saturday?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they win, and I think they cover. I think, Utah, they had a great effort against BYU, and I think they're just done for after that heartbreaking loss.
Have you gone back and looked at that holding call?
Yes.
It looked like holding to me.
Yeah, it's hard because he jammed him up at the line. And I think after he jammed him, he was still running his route and he stumbled. So I don't know if he stumbled because of the jam or if he just lost his footing. But when you see your hand, somebody has their hand on a receiver, and then the receiver stumbles, the flag is going to come. Yeah, so I'm not upset about the flag. I get why Whittingham was upset, but
it looked more egregious than what Woody Washington did. Maybe that's just my fan vision seeing it. Yeah. I'm not saying the game was stolen from us like the AD at Utah. I'm just saying
correct.
It looks
no. The Woody
like
Washington was definitely more questionable than that.
Okay.
There was less.
Thank you, Kevin. Missouri, South Carolina, ranked matchup. 12.5 is a lot. I'm going to check and just make sure that game is still 12.5 because no, oh my gosh, it's 13.5, Kevin. 13.5. It's gone up. The line has gone up. They hate Drew Pine. Somebody went back and watched.
Something has happened. Is somebody hurt against? Did somebody else get hurt from Missouri? I know Drew Pine's not good.
No, I'll tell you what happened, Kevin. Bettors are going back and watching the Oklahoma Missouri tape, and they're like, "My God, that's a bad football team." That's what's happened. Yeah. I don't know that South Carolina covers that though, man.
Yeah, they don't score a ton of points. Do they just think?
I mean, that's the same.
They can run the ball though.
Dude, they can run the ball. Kevin, let this sink in. It's the same spread as Arkansas, Texas, and y'all are number 3 in the country. Yeah, and Arkansas is unranked. And these 2 teams are ranked.
You know what, though? I'm going to go with South Carolina. I'm going to roll with Vegas on this one. I don't feel good about it, but I'm doing it.
Kevin,
those edges are going to destroy Drew Pine.
I hate to agree with you, but I'm going with South Carolina, too.
Drew Pine.
LSU, Florida, the line is 4.5. You're telling me they got Lagway back?
Lagway's practicing. That's all I'm saying. I don't think he's been let me check the injury report real quick.
Yeah, check the injury report. Okay. While you're checking that, I want to know the injury report before I check it. I'm just going to verify the lines. Since lines
I'm pulling it up here. It'll be just a second here.
Lines seem to be changing left and right. It's 4.5. 4.5. Is that what I had?
Yeah.
Yeah. Still 4.5. Okay.
He's on the tonight's injury report that came out. This is Wednesday nights. DJ Lagway is questionable.
Oh, God, man.
I know. But I get that. They probably just don't know. It's just too soon.
You know what? I'm rolling the dice. I'm going to say Florida. I'm going to say Napier. pulls one out of the bag. He's due a win. He's had some okay performances that have resulted in losses. I don't think they're as bad as their record
And
is.
I'm looking
And
at
LSU
Vegas.
is weird.
They're very weird. I'm looking at Vegas Insider, and the line started. It opened up at 5.5, and now it's down to 4.5. So,
All right, we're picking it at 4.5, and I just picked Florida to cover.
I got Florida too. Go Gators. I
All
like
right,
some
well,
things I saw from them. I don't know what. Yeah,
Kevin, we are 28-28. We're going to be tied. Well, I don't know. Let's see. We got one more game to pick to determine if we're going to be tied after this. We rarely match up, so
no,
this
we
is kind of
don't.
weird.
We don't.
But and the lines are so weird. All right, Texas, Arkansas, 13.5. Longhorns covered.
I agree, man. I'm all in Texas.
All right. Well, we're either going to roll together or die together because you
There you
picked.
go, ride or die, like bad boys for life.
The last one, it wasn't Bad Boys for Life. What was the one that just came out? Bad Boys, Ride or Die.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Man. So good. I watched it the other day and it was still good, man. It's a good movie.
They do a good job.
Reggie is so funny. Guys. Reggie is so good in that movie, dude. Oh my god.
It was great they brought him back.
Did you ever see it? Have you seen Ride or Die?
I have not. Too busy prepping for the podcast, man.
Listen, dude. Give me back your 90s man card. Okay. I don't know what's wrong with you that you won't go watch it. I mean, it's streaming on like whatever, dude. You go stream it.
What's it on?
I don't know. I streamed it on something. Hold on. I'm gonna look it up. I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it's streaming on. Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Little thing called Netflix. You got to go watch it. I don't even gonna tell you about Reggie. The way they kept that guy in is so good, though, dude. You know what I'm talking about. You know who Reggie is, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Of course.
I don't know. You don't watch any of the movies.
You and I, no, we've already discussed this. You and I kind of living that scene out when your daughter start dating.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny, dude. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay. That and since we're talking about movies, random movies that are just really good. So right before the podcast, I'm watching the Thunder game. I'm watching Oklahoma volleyball. Going back and forth. They were getting killed by A&M. I think they got killed. And Equalizer was on. I couldn't help it. I just started watching Equalizer. And I would try to turn away for the Thunder game. And I was like, well, I got to see what Denzel's going to do to this Russian. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, how is he going to kill this Russian? Like, what tool in the home mart is he going to take out to take this Russian out? And listen, dude, he's an American treasure. Man. He's an American treasure. Yeah. We've had this conversation before, but maybe it's worth bringing up again in an hour and 13. Would you take Tom Hanks' career or would you take Denzel Washington's career?
Man, we've gone back and forth about this, and there's no wrong answer. There really isn't, but man,
there really isn't.
I'm riding for Denzel, but man, we even went movie for movie in the 1990s. It's unreal.
1990s, early 2000s,
yeah.
And then you take it up, and there's so few flops. You know, Tom Hanks had a couple flops early where he was kind of a comedic actor.
Yeah, he still wasn't Tom Hanks yet.
He wasn't Tom Hanks yet. I think of Joe versus the Volcano with Meg Ryan. What a terrible movie, but you find yourself watching it all the time. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Go check out our earlier episodes for that breakdown, although we might have to do one just on that. Kevin, let's get a Thunder score here before we hang up.
I know they beat New Orleans. I was not sure what the final score was, but they continue to roll despite not having a player in their starting lineup over 6'6".
How about 106-88?
Yeah. So Chet's out, broken hip. He's going to be out for 8 to 10 weeks. And yeah, they're starting J-Dub, Jalen Williams, who's 6'6" at center.
When's Hartenstein coming back?
I think he's got another 2 weeks before he gets reevaluated.
I actually am okay with this for the Thunder. I think it gives them an opportunity to play a different kind of ball. They're good enough that they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? So this isn't like a situation where they have to worry about making the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. The question is, when they get into the playoffs, will they have different ways to win games? Because that's what really, really good playoff teams do, is they find different ways to win games, whether it's small ball, whether it's slowing down, whether it's speeding up, whether it's defense, whether it's the three ball, like whatever is required that night. The really, really, really good teams can do that. It's the ones that have this is how we play that can kind of get locked down. So I just think this is another opportunity for them to kind of refine it. But man, they just keep winning too. On top of all that, they're 10 and
Yeah,
2,
they haven't
Kevin.
missed a beat. Haven't missed a beat since Chet went out. They played the Clippers on Monday. I had a chance to go see that one in person, and yeah, they the mismatch in size. Some teams will be able to take advantage of that, but the defense is swarming from the front court that it just makes it. I mean, from the back court, excuse me, that it makes it difficult to even get the ball into the center. That's how hard they play defense. So
They weren't a good rebounding team last year. Is that right?
they were not. No, they were bottom of the league in rebounding, which is the biggest reason they brought in Hardenstein is to
Yeah,
help with that. So
so that's not going to be helped by not having any
yeah,
height.
and he'll be back. He'll be back in a few weeks. So yeah, and Chet will be back at some point. I mean, it's a long-term injury. It's 2.5, 3 months. He'll be out. But they'll adapt. They've got the deepest team in the league. And here's the crazy thing: if for whatever reason it's not working out, we talked about this on one of our previous episodes. You've got the capital to bring in virtually any player in the NBA. So
Shooter? Do they need a shooter?
the shooting's been great. No,
Even the 3-point game, though, I thought the
yeah,
3-point game was a little off over that compared to last year.
it'll get there though. I think you've got the right shooters. But I mean, you can get whatever you want. You can get a shooter if you want to get a substitute big while you get healthy. You can. You've got so many assets available.
While we're on the NBA, your favorite topic is Bronny James. You're a big fan of nepotism. You're a big fan of having kids play with their dad just because their dad wants a friend. I find that's a weird character flaw about you. That's fine. What do you think about the fact that Bronny James doesn't play road G League games?
I think that's
Weird, Kevin. It's
it is
weird.
weird. It is weird. Yeah.
Just play the game.
Yeah. It's always very odd.
I mean, what am I missing? Honest to God, what are we missing here? What is there do other players do that and we just have never heard of it because they're not named Bronny James? I
don't know. Yeah. I mean, I know that there are a lot of players who go back and forth between playing for the G League team and for the NBA team. I don't know if that has something to do with it. I'm not versed enough on it to give an accurate comment here, so I have no idea.
Again, if that happens, I guess, but he's not good enough to be on the Lakers roster right now, right? I mean, so it's just like it seems like it's a refusal to let this kid develop at his own pace, and it's just really weird. I don't think he'll ever get there, at least based on what we've seen so far. But he has all the resources. Let him have a legitimate chance at developing and becoming his own player. And sometimes that's playing in the G League. I guess I just don't get it.
Yeah, we've seen players develop and have really good careers from it. Alex Caruso is a great example of that.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just weird. We've talked about it before, and I still think it's weird. But
real quick, San Antonio Spurs. Wembanyama went for 50 tonight.
Okay, how are they doing?
They're okay. They're average. I am concerned about this thing with Pop being out, serious health scare. Not sure what it is. I've heard rumors of a stroke from people in San Antonio, but
really
haven't really said. Yeah, he's been away from the team for about a week or two now, about a week or so. And they said they're very concerned about what happened. So, but no one's saying exactly what happened.
When did he take over in San Antonio? 95, 96?
I would want to say 96 is when he became the head coach.
28 years he's been with them. 27 or 28 seasons.
Yeah. He's been in
And
the front office even longer.
5 titles?
Yes.
Or 4 titles? 5?
5.
Well, I remember he was hired. I remember when he was hired because, well, not hired. He hired himself. He was the general manager and fired the coach, just took over. Said he was tired of watching him. Was it Hill? He fired Bob Hill?
He fired Bob Hill. Yes. And it was a stroke, by the way. This was confirmed actually just this evening.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Uh-huh. They described it as a mild stroke. It was November 2nd. It was at the arena.
Really? Wow. How old is he now?
I believe he's 75 years old.
Man, that's scary. I don't like hearing that.
No, not at all.
I don't like hearing that. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, yeah, I don't like that direction. The Spurs, when you go back and look at the Spurs, they were so bad last year. I mean, what's a good outcome for the Spurs? Obviously, pending whatever we're going to find out here with Pop, but what's a good outcome for the Spurs? A play-in game?
Oh yeah, I think a play-in game, you'd be thrilled.
Would they be stoked?
I think so. Yeah, when you've got a generational talent like Wembanyama, you just want to be getting better every year.
And you want as many games as you can get. You just do. You want to just be playing give him as many
you gotta
games
have him
as
out
you can
there.
get.
Completely agree. Just got to have him out there and just do better this year than you did the previous year as you continue to develop the roster. I like the draft pick that they got, Stephon Castle out of UConn. He's starting to really show up to Chris Paul. He's almost 40 years old, but he's, does some good things at point guard still and is just a really good mentor to the younger players.
Okay. One last question. I know I keep going one last question, but I'm enjoying talking to you. Now we're talking about NBA. We don't have to talk about Oklahoma football. It's kind of pleasant. Are you pro city court designs? Or are you against city court designs?
No, I'm pro city court design. Especially the Thunders have always been nice. So yeah.
Did you see the Spurs?
I haven't seen the Spurs ones yet for this year. It's bad.
No, I thought great.
Okay.
The Spurs, man, listen, the silver and black, I've never liked the Spurs when they go off the silver and black. Just own it. And this city court, you got it up there? Can you pull it up?
Let's see. Give me 1 second.
The Thunder one's pretty clean. There's some that are too much.
Now, are you talking about now? Let me ask you this, because remember, there's a difference between the City Edition court and the NBA Cup in-season tournament court. They're two different things.
This might be the NBA Cup.
Okay.
Do you have them? You have one up? Can you show me?
I do have that. Yeah, give me 1 second.
Let's go ahead.
I'll pull it up here. Yeah.
People are still listening. They're into this. They love us talking about basketball courts.
Yeah.
People think this is the best. People think this is the best conversation they've ever heard. You're welcome,
give me 1
fans.
second here.
You're welcome, fans of the Boomer Bevo Podcast. This is what you get when OU's on a bye week and we suck. We're going to talk NBA. When you're trying to figure out reasons not to fire your coach, that's when you know you're in a bad
spot. Just extrapolate that over.
Oh, I don't want to, Devin. I don't like it. I don't like the thought.
It's horrible, man. It's the worst.
But you cannot be a baby about it. You can't go, well, I mean, we got to. No, dude, if the change has to be made, we got to make the change. We're Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I'm not
saying you shouldn't either. All I'm saying is
the minute Castiglione and Harris look each other in the eye and go, this isn't working. It needs to be done.
Now, do you think that there is a chance that could still happen this year? I know we kind of got at this a little bit.
If they get their ass kicked by Alabama and or LSU, and when I not show up, like South Carolina, Texas type ass kicking. If one of those happens, I think there's a real possibility. Look, dude, we could show up against Alabama. We could show up and play really, really good defense and control the ball a little bit and lose 26-10. And it'd be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's just the
we go
eyeball
get
test.
beat. We go get beat 44-7 in prime time. In prime time, Kevin. Dude, I wish we had an 11 a.m. game. Actually, that's not true. I still want a primetime game because I'm not scared, Kevin. I'm not scared. Which one is that?
That's the NBA Cup one.
That's the one I saw. I like that one. I think that's
I
really
like
clean.
it too. I think it's great. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Thunder one of those. Okay, so my son Jeffrey
You
was
and I are on
showing
the
me
same page here.
he was showing me these on the phone. I thought the Thunder one looked really good too. I think the Phoenix Suns looked a bit much. There was a couple that were like,
Yeah, certain colors, when you see them on the court, it looks a little bit rough. Some of them just look a little bit rough on the court.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know what happened here.
Oh, no.
But
Kevin lost it. We were doing so good, Kevin. Your graphics were killing it today.
I don't know.
You dropped the ball.
Man.
You're like
Jackson.
You're like Jackson Arnold on a game-winning drive here in the last minute of the game.
Oh man.
Oh, don't worry about it. Keep showing me pictures of Draymond Green. That's great. Hey, I like the Spurs.
We hate on Draymond, man.
You know what? Because he's a tool, Kevin. Aren't you done with Draymond?
Really
Are you ready? You're ready for him to be retired, right? Because I am.
Yeah. Stop talking.
Kevin, I love bad guys. I love the villains. I love the villains. I like the dudes that you're supposed to hate. I liked Ron Artest. I even liked, I did not like him. I hated him. He might still be playing. Who was the guard for the Houston?
Vernon Maxwell?
No.
Patrick Beverly. Okay, I thought you were going old school with Mad Max. See, I love Mad Max, though.
I hated him too. And I hated Patrick Beverly. And I hated Charles Oakley. And I hated all those guys. Hated them. Draymond Green's on a different level. He's like, I hate you and I'm annoyed by you and I just don't understand you as like a human. On a human level, it doesn't make sense to crap you do.
Yeah.
Did he take a swing at somebody the other night?
It wouldn't surprise me. It's just what he does. I mean, dude's got suspended for multiple playoff games.
He had zero self-control. It's insane. Yeah. All right.
And don't forget him destroying the Warriors season when he punched a teammate in the face in practice.
Oh, who did he punch in the face?
A couple years ago, Jordan Poole.
Oh, he's a child. He's a child with like behavior issues. I can't stand him. Anyway, all right. There you go. There's your NBA talk. You're welcome, everybody. Kevin, we both got you covering. So Texas, just another notch in your belt of mediocre teams. Go take care of business. Oklahoma, you can't lose this week.
I can feel the hate coming through your voice here, and I just want you to know that I love it.
Oklahoma, you can't lose this week. So, congratulations.
No.
I don't know. There you go. Kevin, have a great night. Boomer!
Hook 'em.